This GeekWire podcast is brought to you by BECU. Stay tuned to the break as Brian Westbrook interviews BECU's Stacy Black for today's Money Hack about social media trends like loud budgeting. And for more money hacks, check out geekwire.com/BECU. Our guest this week is Salesforce CEO Marc Benioff, who says he's never been as excited about anything in his career as he is about the latest developments in artificial intelligence. AI agents that can autonomously reason, plan, and take action on behalf of businesses.
We're going to do this in a large-scale way and give customers a level of success with AI that they've really never had before. I'm super excited about it. I think it's going to be incredible.
Benioff is almost as passionate in his negative feelings about Microsoft's Copilot. He calls it the second coming of Microsoft's much-maligned Clippy office assistant, and he asserts that the Redmond company is giving AI a bad name by disappointing customers with underwhelming results and lacks security.
I do think a lot of them have been sold something from Microsoft that has been somewhat given them the trough of disillusionment around AI and augmented the hype cycle when, in fact, we're at a moment where they're going to be able to get tremendous productivity. And I think we need to kind of call that out so that we sell them back into, hey, this is the moment you need to really jump into AI. It's really the most exciting moment that we've ever had.
But there was one thing that diverted him from those topics during our conversation this week: his dog, Honey, sneaking up behind him in his home office after sniffing out some food. I saw the dog coming for your pastry. I didn't know whether to say anything.
We have a disaster. We have a disaster on our hands. We have a dog who has eaten a bagel. I mean, this is the perils of working at home. She is a wonderful dog, and she deserves that, but she's broken a plate, and it's a sad moment.
But it didn't take long for him to get back on topic.
Let's keep going. We'll clean that mess up. That's, by the way, very metaphorical for the mess that Microsoft has made in regards to the AI industry.
Welcome to GeekWire. I'm GeekWire co-founder Todd Bishop. We are coming to you from Seattle, where we get to report each day on what's happening in business, technology, and innovation. What happens here matters everywhere, and every week on this show, we get to talk about some of the most interesting and important stories and trends in the news. I spoke this week with Marc Benioff, the CEO and co-founder of cloud computing pioneer and enterprise applications giant Salesforce, in advance of the general availability of the San Francisco company's Agentforce AI technology for sales and service. In addition to AI, we talked about his ownership of Time magazine and what that means for his political involvement, and the status of his past pledge to turn Seattle into Salesforce's HQ2. Stick around to the end for that. Here's my conversation with Marc Benioff. Marc Benioff, it's great to have you on the GeekWire podcast.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So you seem to be everywhere lately. You're talking about the potential for AI agents to transform business. You've been slapping Microsoft upside the head, which we can talk about. You even talked about the potential to rename the company, Salesforce, as Agentforce. It's kind of like the Marc Benioff of old, if you don't mind me saying. So let me just start by asking you, what's got you so fired up about AI agents, this whole notion of autonomous artificial intelligence?
Well, you are right. I am fired up. I would say I've never been more excited about anything in my entire career. I mean, at the end of the day, what we're about to talk about today, well, I'd say that for the last 45 years that I've been writing software and publishing software and working with customers to be successful with software, well, this is our dream, what's happening now, that we can really see that software can do things that it's never been able to do before, that it can make us more productive, truly more productive. It can augment our employees. It can improve our margins, grow our revenues. It can improve our KPIs. Fundamentally, improving our overall business performance. This is our dream of why we all got into the software business, because we thought this is where software is going. And we are at this moment right now. And that's why I'm really totally excited.
When you make the pitch to customers, I can imagine that some of them are still saying, whoa, wait a second, Marc, like I'm still getting used to the notion of just working with AI as a companion. This might seem like a step too far for 2024 to have autonomous AI agents working on behalf of my business. What do you say to folks when they bring that up?
Well, I think you're taking a pretty big jump into the abyss there. And before we do that, I think you should take a step back and, look, we've been working with AI for a long time. You know that. This isn't our first conversation about AI, and this is for Salesforce. We've been doing AI for quite a while, and seriously AI for more than a decade, especially with our Einstein platform. We are the largest provider of enterprise AI in the world. We do about 2 trillion enterprise AI transactions this week alone. And that's across all of our products and platforms. And it's been a fantastic journey. Machine intelligence, machine learning, deep learning. I mean, it's been awesome. And this generative AI moment is exciting because it's another step on our collective AI journey. So while we've been working on AI, I think we've always been saying, oh, it's going to make us more successful. It's going to make us more productive. But now, with this introduction of this concept of these agents, which is basically, what is agents? It's software that is reasoning, planning, taking action on your behalf, and using the generative capabilities that we see, like in these LLMs that we love, combining that and then grounding. That means connecting. It's an AI term, connecting with our corporate databases. It gives us the ability to really achieve capabilities with enterprise software we just have not been able to do before. And we are in the zone. And this is exciting for us. I think in 3 days, we're going live for all of our customers with this platform that we call Agentforce. And the early results have been just nothing short of, well, it's just stunning what is possible. And we're gonna come out of the gate really swinging on this, and that's what you're feeling.
I got a chance to talk with a couple of your executives, Adam Evans and Brent Hayward, so I have a sense for the answer to this question. But can you give me some examples of what people will be able to do with Agentforce that they might not have been able to do with just a chatbot or a generative AI solution that would sit next to them on their desktop?
Well, I think we're trying to answer a fundamental question at a high level, and I think this is what, look, all of our companies, my company, your company, we have human workers. Here we are. We're 2 humans. I'm not talking to an AI right now, as far as I know.
Not that you know.
Maybe that isn't going to be true in 5 years. I don't know. Okay. I just know right now, in the present moment, and we should just talk about all the mythology we need to bust in regards to what AI is and is not right now. But as of right now, here I am doing my podcast on GeekWire, and it's great, and we're just kind of cruising along right now. It's fine. Okay. But let's just kind of blow this up a little bit, because what this is all about is for the first time, humans with agents driving customer success together. Okay, so now what does that mean? Let's take a specific industry, healthcare. All of us have had this experience. I even have a boot right now I'm wearing because I had a bad scuba diving jump a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to be going back into an MRI on Friday. And you know what it's like when you go in an MRI, or if you don't, let me explain to you. You go in the MRI, and then if they give you some contrast so they can see the picture a little more clearly, they're going to say something to the end of the MRI where they scan, and they're going to say, now, Mark, you got to make sure you're going to go drink some water after this MRI, right? Okay. Why is that? Because you got to flush the contrast. Okay. Here's some drugs. You're going to have to take this for the next couple of weeks. Now, and I know, no one is going to call me. No one is calling me and saying, did you drink the water? Did you take the drugs? Healthcare is very much an individual sport in our country where you're on your own. And in the future, that just is not going to be true, because what's going to happen is your phone is going to ring, or you're going to get a text, and it's going to be, hey, did you drink the water? And we're following up for your MRI and just want to know what's going on with you and how are you feeling? And are you experiencing swelling? And what's going on exactly? And you're going to say, yes, I did. Oh, thanks for reminding me. Oh, yeah, no, it's fine. Do you need more help on understanding all the things going on with your foot? Oh, yeah, I do. Oh, give me more information. Oh, that's great. What are the 5 things I need to know? These are the 5 things you should know. And are you sure you're okay yet? Do you want to talk to a doctor? No. Do you need to reschedule your appointment? No. Well, we're going to schedule a repeat MRI for you in a month, so I'll be contacting you again. That last part, it's all with an agent. And this idea that we can fill in the gaps of our human workforce with a digital workforce. This is a big idea. And this is a great thing in this industry, healthcare, because I might need a repeat MRI. I might need repeat labs. I might need to schedule an appointment with my doctor. But look, my doctor does not want to hear from me. My doctor is burnout. My nurse is burnout. They're in a post-pandemic malaise. You know that's true. You go talk to any healthcare organization. But these digital workers, they can fill in this gap. And they can give us some breathing space between our doctors who should be working on certain very important things, because there's a lot the AI cannot do, especially in healthcare. But there's now a lot that the AI can do, especially in healthcare. And our job has to be to put those two things together. And if we can do that, oh my gosh, this is a moment for our customers that is going to be absolutely amazing.
All right, coming up next, we get to the heart of Marc Benioff's complaints about Microsoft Copilot, why he thinks it's the next Clippy, and what the Redmond company would say in response. This GeekWire podcast is brought to you by BECU. Stay tuned as Brian Westbrook interviews BECU's Stacy Black for today's money hack about social media trends like loud budgeting. And for more money hacks, check out geekwire.com/BECU.
Are you a fan of the latest social media trends? Have you heard of financial advice from the comment section? How about loud budgeting? Stacy Black, lead financial educator with BECU, is here with me now. What is loud budgeting?
Loud budgeting really helps remove the shame when it comes to talking about finances. When I was younger, we never talked about money.
Yeah.
And now it's all about being loud and proud. Like, I am saving for my financial goals in the future. I want to buy a house. So it's being proud about that and letting people know that you could buy whatever you want, but you're choosing not to because you have financial goals in the future.
So it's kind of pivoting that shame around money and talking about money into ways that really just make you proud of it and give you something to look forward to. We'll talk about that and more, social media hacks and social media tips and tricks on saving money and looking forward to your financial goals. That's all on Money Hacks at geekwire.com/BECU.
Listen to the full interview and find more episodes of Money Hacks at geekwire.com/BECU and find more information at becu.org. You've been outspoken about Microsoft in recent weeks, and I really want to dig into this a little bit more with you than you've talked about before. Fundamentally, your issue is that Microsoft has set expectations too high and not met them, in addition to other things. But I don't want to speak for you. What's your problem with Clippy? That's what I'm trying to get at here.
Look, at the end of the day, we all know that for the last couple of years, Microsoft leveraging their investment in two things. One, their investment in OpenAI, but two, our personal experience with ChatGPT. We've all had that ChatGPT moment where we type in the query and we get the result and it's like super search and we're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is magic. This is awesome. How is this possible? And our first experience with an LLM, we're all remembering that, right? That's so important. And that idea that we have, I would say, this incredible new technology, the LLM, that's amazing. But the idea that then to say, now here's Copilot, and it's now going to make your enterprise so much better, and here you go, that's a fantasy that is not played out. And you just talk to customers and they'll tell you Copilot has not transformed their enterprises. Every CEO was so excited with the vision of, well, now that we have LLMs, AI is now curing cancer and climate change has stopped. And your company is going to be fully automated. Not so fast. And when we look at Copilot and when we look at this kind of concept that every company has to have their own model or LLM or train and retrain their model, again, this is not how this is going to play out. And that needs to come to an end. And that is really the big message that we have for our customers, which is we are the largest provider of enterprise AI, and we've made you a lot more productive with AI. And now watch this with Agentforce. With Agentforce, you're going to achieve the dreams and visions that you've always had for AI. And we're going to show you, just like in my examples with healthcare, where you're going to be able to fill in the gaps with your customers, to have a much higher level of customer intimacy. Now, I'll give you another great example of a real customer. One of the first customers that we turned Agentforce on is Wiley. Wiley is the textbook manufacturer. And this idea that the textbook manufacturer, and right now is their Super Bowl season, everyone's going back to school, so they're all trying to buy more textbooks. And here we are, and they are usually surging their workforce, hiring more sales and service people, of course, because that's what you do when you're Wiley. You're selling more books right now, but not now, not at this time of the year, because they are using Agentforce. So they were able to scale their service organization, their sales organization, their marketing organization, their customer outreach with digital workers, not just human workers. And that is so important. And this idea that Agentforce gives you the ability to deliver a higher level of customer success than ever before, that is really amazing. And that is why I'm so excited.
Now, Microsoft itself has created some branding confusion here. And so it's important to point out when you're talking about Copilot, you're talking about Copilot for Microsoft 365, which is the thing that they charge an extra $30 a user a month for, not GitHub Copilot, which frankly has been one of the early successes in the industry in terms of its ability to be a coding companion.
Let's just take this apart.
Go for it.
Because I think what you're getting into is something very important, which is that software developers are more productive using AI. And there's different tools for doing that, including that. But then to say, now my software developer is more productive with AI because of this, and now to say my whole enterprise is going to be more successful with this technology is not true. And yet it's what they've been selling. And you can go out there and see with customers, they don't have success with this idea. This idea that a fundamentally ungrounded AI into your enterprise is going to deliver you more productivity is not true. And that's where Microsoft has gotten themselves into trouble here. So let's just put that aside for a second.
Well, but Mark, I should say they would push back on that. We both know that. And they would say 60% of the Fortune 500 are using this thing. And they have specific case studies where they would show successes as well. I'm not going to go through
Which customer are you going to cite? Let's talk about it. Take one.
I mean, I'm talking to you. I don't have Microsoft's case studies in front of me. I can just tell you that there are some.
I have the product. It doesn't work.
Okay.
I understand very well. I mean, I have it right here. I'm like, it's just ChatGPT.
What then is the difference with Agentforce? How are you differentiating yourself? And what are the key points of differentiation?
What you have to realize is that LLMs are just a component of intelligence. They're just an ingredient. Like if we're making a cake and we need sugar or salt, it's just a component. But an LLM by itself is just kind of an input-output search engine. It has an amalgamated data set with an algorithm that are combined, and you put something in your prompt, and out comes a response. It's not a data storage mechanism. It doesn't store your corporate data. It doesn't have your metadata. It doesn't have your sharing model. It doesn't have your security model. Let me give you another example. I had a bank CEO come and talk to me. Hey, we're going to transform our bank. Fantastic. How are you going to do that? We're going to take our call center and we're going to just feed all of our customer data into this LLM, and all of our call center agents are going to be that much more productive. That's a great vision. Tell me how you're going to do it. And they have this idea that you can just dump your corporate data into an LLM and it somehow is going to make you a smarter, better company. It's not true. But what is true is you can build an architecture out through a platform, good old-fashioned enterprise software platform approach, and the combination of an LLM, your corporate data, your corporate metadata, your sharing model, your security model, and also other critical parts of enterprise software that we know are so important, like the apps themselves, because there has to be a seamless handoff between your human worker and your digital worker. All of these things combined can achieve that vision. And that is the magic and the promise of what's possible today.
On another topic related to this, you've said that Microsoft Copilot is spilling data everywhere. And I went back and found the Gartner study that you were citing there. And so just briefly here, I want to quote what it says. It says, Microsoft 365 Copilot honors user permissions. It also respects data security controls, such as sensitivity labels, where these have been correctly applied. However, if controls have not been correctly applied or permissions are too open, Microsoft 365 Copilot can increase the risk of oversharing by retrieving, summarizing, and generating content that the user should not have access to. That's part of it. I got to say, I read that. If I were editing a story that a reporter turned in and that was the text, I would have a hard time putting the headline on there that it was spilling data everywhere. Can you get into more detail about what you mean by that?
Well, I can. I think you actually just said it, which is that customers, and you can read that Gartner report yourself, customers basically have reported directly to me that they're seeing results in queries that they should not be seeing, that they don't have that authorization as a user. To give you the example, in the example of banking, which kind of we just went into with kind of the know your customer approach, my banker and your banker have different sharing models. Your banker cannot see my account balance, and my banker cannot see your account balance. But in this example, Copilot is showing up, giving people who should not be seeing that data. That's all that's going on.
Right. And I think the point of the Gartner report is that it is happening in some cases, and it's actually stopping some companies from adopting Microsoft 365 Copilot. But it seems like it's more about the permissions that those companies themselves have put on the data and the protections that they have implemented. But your point would be what?
My point is that's never going to happen with a Salesforce platform because you're defining those user roles up front, your sharing model. You're defining your security model. And when we're talking about regulated industries like healthcare, financial services, the government, and other pieces, there is no margin for error on these things. My healthcare data, my banking data, I don't want that spilling all over the floor of these enterprises, which is what's happening. And you're citing the report actually that I read, and there's also a very good Computer World article on it as well. But it's not just that. It's this false premise that Microsoft has sold customers that this is what AI was meant to be. And it's not true. What AI was meant to be is the idea that we're going to have a more productive enterprise with augmented employees, with higher margins, with higher revenues. And this is how we're going to achieve it. And in my example with healthcare, or my example with banking now, well, that's what Agentforce does. Agentforce is delivering for customers, like in the example with Wiley. They are achieving all of those things, which you cannot achieve with Copilot. And this idea that we've been sold for the last 2 years that Copilot can do this, it's not true. So we've, for 25 years have helped our customers build their sales forces, their service forces, their marketing forces, their commerce forces, their analytics forces, their data forces. Now we're helping to build their agent force. And that idea that workforces are fundamentally overwhelmed, that they have low value tasks, stalled productivity, fixed capacity, burning out, like I mentioned in healthcare, well, customers want more. They kind of want to get down to that immediate zero hold time idea, personal and empathetic service, working with experts, scheduling things, taking actions immediately, have an instant response. None of those things happen with Copilot. And that idea, or that bigger idea we talked about at the beginning, what if workforces had no limits? What if workforces had no limits? What does that mean for your company? That's not what we're getting with Copilot, my friend. And I think that is true. That idea, which is the big idea, right, in terms of AI, radically improving our capabilities. What if workforce has no limits? That isn't what's going on. And that is what we're going to deliver with Agentforce in 3 days. And that idea that our customers can use a platform that's trusted and secure, scalable and accurate, easy to customize, that has the AI built in, that has your apps built in, that uses a metadata framework, that has an open ecosystem, that all of these basic capabilities, that idea that you can build radically new types of applications to automate your company, that is AI. That is what AI was meant to be. And that is the contrast that I'm playing around this fantasy of not only Copilot, but also this false premise that I hear from a lot of customers that they've been sold by Microsoft that they need to build their own models, and retrain their own models. And that's why we need these increasing levels of hyperscaler capacity. And those things are not true. That this can be done in a more efficient software infrastructure, just as we have for decades, is the proven computer science approach.
I don't mean to put myself in the position of Microsoft proxy here, but I do want to point out.
No, it's good. It's great. You're doing fine.
They did come out this week, seemingly in a preemptive move.
Did you use the word panic?
I don't know who's panicking. I read half the headlines and they say you're panicking. I read the other half and they say Microsoft's panicking. But Microsoft did come out with their own AI agents, about 10 of them for Dynamics 365. Did you see that as kind of validation for the fact that you're out there pointing out where they've missed the boat?
No, you have to understand, number one, Copilot has failed. And this fantasy that every company has to go build and rebuild their own model has failed. Customers are looking for a new opportunity. Copilot has failed. Building and rebuilding your own LLM, that vision has failed. And customers are looking for a new opportunity for this level of automation. That is what is exciting. And we can do this. We can offer companies an incredible new capability. And we see that with our customers across the board. Let me give you another example, which is, I've given you a couple already, but let's talk about Disney. Disney is another great example where they have a very complex product line. And for their employees, they call them cast members, to get this kind of very intelligent response for a customer is incredibly difficult. Now, we automate every Disney customer touch point, from Disney Plus to the service center, to selling the real estate, to this idea that, you're in the park with a Disney guide. And this is an opportunity for their employees to have an even heightened customer experience. And I'll give you a very concrete example. I'm walking through the park, something I actually do 4 times a year, and I'm with a Disney guide, and we're on our way to Rise the Resistance, my favorite ride. And now, it's at Galaxy Edge, which is Star Wars land. And now the guide is notified the ride is down because it's a very complex ride to maintain. What is the guide to do? Does the guide, A, know flow control across the park so that it knows every ride, how they're doing and what's busy and what's not? And B, my ride history, everything I have done and not done. Because those two things need to come together in an instant to make a recommendation to me. Mark, Rise the Resistance is down. We need to go to this new location. But the agent at that moment can say, with now more than 90% accuracy, yes, Mark needs to go to Toontown. And you can see I'm wearing a Disney shirt, which I got there. And that idea that we can provide that better customer experience, because there's no way the guide can do that on their own. It's not possible. But the AI and the agent can. And now the agent is working side by side with the guide. That is agents with humans driving a greater level of customer success together.
After the break, we expand the conversation to include Marc Benioff's ownership of Time Magazine, his take on the Seattle tech market, and a great question suggested by Google's Notebook LM, based on Benioff's 2019 book, Trailblazer.
World Vision, a global Christian organization, invites you to subscribe to World Change. Sounds impossible, right? Not anymore. With a simple monthly gift, you can make a big impact, helping equip vulnerable families around the world with access to resources like clean water, food, education, and more. And you'll receive regular updates showing the life-changing difference you are making. Learn more by visiting worldvision.org/worldchange. Click, give, subscribe to World Change.
You were talking earlier about those aha AI moments, and I can assure you that you're speaking with a real human here on the other side, as you can tell, and not an AI agent yet. But I had one of those aha moments with a different company's product. I will tell you that. It was with Notebook LM.
Oh, that's a great product.
If you'll forgive me,
That is a great product, right? Isn't it amazing?
it is. So I read Trailblazer when it came out in 2019, and I have a copy on Kindle. This is your book, Trailblazer. And I took the Kindle copy and was able to fiddle with it and get it into Notebook LM and upload it with all sorts of background about the AI stuff and everything. And I asked it for questions to ask you. And one of the questions, Mark, blew me away. So I'm going to ask it to you. Okay.
Yeah, great.
You write in your book, Trailblazer, that you've never forgotten what you learned from your dad. Quote, nothing can take the place of human relationships, the bedrock of any business. How do you balance your belief in the power of AI with the importance of human connection and relationships in business?
Well, this is, I think, going to be the seminal moment, not just for me, but for all of us. Because there's no question that we have this incredible ability to augment our employees for the first time with digital workers. That idea is so exciting. That idea that we're going to, work side by side with AI, we're all going to get our head around that. We've seen it in the movies. We all saw Minority Report. We saw Terminator. We saw Her. We saw Space Odyssey. We saw them all, right? Well, we're going to live it. And there's no question. It's all unfolding in front of us. And that is going to be the existential question of our time, which is you and I are going to work side by side with agents. I'm sure we're already doing that at some level already. Like, for example, how many times a day do you already go to Gemini or ChatGPT or Perplexity or U.com or any of these systems to get an answer? Probably quite a bit. Feel extended. But
how many times an hour? Yes.
Okay. But now let's just go back a second. Before that, you were going to Google and you were doing Google search. And Google search also is AI. And now you have super search is what I'd call it with ChatGPT. Okay. And then when we combine that technology and we ground it into your company data, add your sharing model, which I've now made that point exhaustively, I think. You're integrated with your apps. It's time for some magic to happen. And I think that's what's really cool. We just did this conference in San Francisco called Dreamforce. And we had 45,000 people come. It was awesome. I don't think you came, but maybe next year. And while we were there, we took 10,000 of our customers because I brought in 4,000 of my employees just to focus on something called Launchpad, which was help our customers build agents in real time. I have a dream that I'm going to try to get 1 billion agents going in the next year. So I wanted to really use it as a kickstart. I did one today in Tokyo, by the way. I did one last week in the UK and in Australia. I'm trying to really get this going globally. And sat down with those customers and said, we're going to build this. Let's go. And that idea that we can do it and add and extend their system, that is really important. We took Saks Fifth Avenue, came to the conference, and they are a tremendous Salesforce customer already. We automate all their customer touch points. And in an hour, they built a system to manage their returns and their customer service. And if you go to their site today, it's running. So that's a big thought, that they can extend their human workforce in an instant, in a moment. And I think we all realize our workforces are constrained emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally. And we just don't have enough people to do the jobs that have to get done. Even in my own company, I feel that way. And so, even right now, as I'm rolling out Agentforce, I wish I could be doing so much more faster and more scaled. Agents are going to provide that capability. And that's what it's all about. That is what we're going to achieve. We're going to have this idea that, yes, here we are. We kind of open the conversation this way. We're doing the podcast together. But will we be in 5 years? Or will there be another version of that concept, from Google, but maybe with a different technology or a different vendor or a different AI? Of course, it's going to be a different AI at that point. And will it be rendering the video like I'm looking at you now on my computer? I don't know if anyone's going to be able to see this image or not that we're going through, but wow, it's like, yeah, we're about to enter that world. And this is the new world that's really going to happen.
You mentioned when Salesforce acquired Tableau that Seattle was going to be HQ2. Do you still see it that way?
We have a huge workforce in Seattle. We have just tremendous folks up there. We have so many groups all over the world now. I think what I did not expect was you know, we had this thing, I don't know if you heard about it, called the pandemic. And when we had the pandemic, we all learned how to use Zoom. Like we're using Zoom right now. Nobody probably can tell, but we're using Zoom. And, when we had the pandemic and we all went home and we all learned how to use Zoom and be comfortable with Zoom. And, I bought my Yeti microphone that I'm using here at home with you. And that changed everything for me. And I think HQ2 probably looks a little bit more like our homes and not so much like a specific city. I don't even, maybe that's HQ1 for a lot of companies. I have friends of mine who only have remote workforces. So I think everything changed at that moment. And it's not that Seattle isn't really important. It is. It's obvious. We have a huge facility there. We have a brand new tower in Chicago, in Sydney, in Tokyo, in New York, in Atlanta, in Paris, all over the world. But at the end of the day, we are more flexible, more virtual workers than ever before. And we're gonna continue to be that way.
And then lastly, in 2020, as part of your ownership of Time Magazine, you declared, I think rightly so from a journalistic standpoint and ethically, that you would no longer be making political donations and endorsements. As we approach November 5th, any regrets about that decision?
No, I think it's been a great decision. First of all, I've really enjoyed my, stewardship of time. Here's this issue on aspiring women. I'm holding it up. And, this is something that we brought actually into the brand, which is not only the concept of man of the year, but woman of the year. I would say that, this has been a moment in the last, 6 years where we've tried to focus more on the middle way. And that's, owning time and being in the media industry. It's, by the way, very different than the, tech industry. It's much harder. The media industry is very difficult and very complicated. The tech industry, this is software I've been doing for, 45 years. It's much easier.
What's the toughest thing about media?
It's the fluidity of the models. And I think that, with time, what we've done is we have the print, which I just showed you. We also have the digital. We have events. We have other kinds of digital products, even our NFTs, if you remember those. We have our Time Studios. We have a movie studio now. We have many different types of products inside Time. And that idea that we're constantly building and growing and expanding brands, sub-brands, new products, it's so fluid and so fast-moving. I would say that in some ways, it's even more so than the tech industry.
Marc Benioff, thank you so much for talking with us.
Great to spend time with you.
Marc Benioff is Chair, Chief Executive Officer, and co-founder of cloud computing pioneer and enterprise applications giant Salesforce. See GeekWire.com for a transcript of our talk and links to related stories and reports. I'm GeekWire co-founder Todd Bishop. Kurt Milton edited this episode. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with a new episode of the GeekWire podcast.
World Vision, a global Christian organization, invites you to subscribe to World Change. Sounds impossible, right? Not anymore. With a simple monthly gift, you can make a big impact, helping equip vulnerable families around the world with access to resources like clean water, food, education, and more. And you'll receive regular updates showing the life-changing difference you are making. Learn more by visiting worldvision.org/worldchange. Click, give, subscribe to World Change.